Good evening, welcome to this Cadenhead's original collection tasting tonight. My name's Cameron, I'm joined by our export sales manager Jenna McIntosh, and back in the frame, behind the scenes, we've got Nathan, who was on holiday the last time, and we still haven't found out who actually told Nathan holidays were legal. So thanks again for joining us. Tonight we've got 6 drams from the original collection, which will be released tomorrow. We're also going to talk about a lot of how the original collection is distributed across the world too. As you might see, Jenna's been a bit busy this afternoon with a bit of decoration, but she'll explain a bit of that, more of that later on. Again, as usual, if you've got any questions, please feel free to ask us. We try and be as transparent as possible, and it's also quite good to get some interaction as well. Just for a further note, we're in our studio as usual. It is about 100 degrees tonight, so if you see me or Jenna like nearly fainting, it's
getting redder.
it's the heat in here, so bear with us if we do look as if we're about to pass out. It's not to do with the drams or anything. So on that note, I'll pass you over to Jenna.
Yeah, I think we'll just get started and introduce dram number 1. So everyone that's maybe joining in has ordered their tasting pack and hopefully received it. Otherwise, we do have a few still available in our shops, I believe, and this stream will be available to watch afterwards as well. But we're going to tasting pack, which is the Glen glassa, 8 years old, and as is all our original collection bottlings, it's been bottled at 46%. And this was a vatting made up of 100%. It was all fully matured in bourbon casks. And we just kind of revisited this one just before we started there. And yeah, it's a kind of standout. We've not bottled any Glen glassa, I think, in my time here.
It's been a while. I can't remember the last one we've done.
So it's always pretty nice to see something back in the inventory again.
I think probably 2016 maybe, or something. Maybe 2015 was the last time, I think.
Yeah, so but yeah, really fruity on the nose, this one. Nice light. The bourbon cask kind of shows off this spirit as well. Lots of green apples and sort of the vanillas, the toffees is all coming through. Them typical notes, lots of pears.
Aye.
But yeah, it's a spirit that just works really well, clean and classic.
It's
with the bourbon cask maturation.
It's my kind of style of dram, that one as well. Glen glassa as well, as Jenna pointed out, we haven't bottled that for a number of years. We've got a number of casks of it. You know, it's a good quality whiskey as well. You know, it's one of those distilleries. It's got a really good reputation. You know, they do a lot of great stuff. They've launched the revamp of their 12-year-old recently as well. So they've done a lot of kind of work behind the scenes, or 10-year-old, 10 or 12-year-old, I can't remember. It was 12, wasn't it? So they're doing a lot of good work. You know, like they're also associated with Benriach and Glendronach as well. So they've always been under really good ownership. Currently under Brown Foreman. Before it was Billy Walker. So it's really good spirit, this one too. It's not, even for 8 years old, it's not too youthful either. It's got a lot going on with it. It's not very it's not that kind of hot spirity note. It has got that kind of flavour. You mentioned a lot of kind of fruitiness there. Got quite a kind of creaminess to it as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think I was looking up a little bit about Glen glassa with this bottling coming up, and even the distillery itself, one is quite pleasing to see, pleasing to look at. Their website's got a lovely video. Kind of they go through the sort of coastal side of things, and yeah, it's pretty. It's a nice distillery to kind of discover again.
Yeah.
When you're not coming across them as often, it's one that you can kind of slip through when you're doing independent bottlings and getting to see so many distilleries within our inventory anyway.
It's also the casks that we had here, we did nothing with them either, as in like we just had them stored in our warehouses here. Like these were the original casks that we purchased them in. The spirit was good quality, the casks were good as well. You know, like the bourbon hogsheads, you know, that we used for this entire the composition for this, it just works well. You know, it's one of those things. We've got some other ones too. Some that have been maybe put into, I think put some into some refill sherries, but the vast majority were actually really good quality that we've actually just kind of continued to mature on.
It's a good point because we have spoken a lot and through some of our bottlings as well, we've been playing around with a lot of the cask management side of things, doing a lot of re-racking, and we've had some interesting bottlings coming out. But even tonight, I think the majority of our ones tonight are all bourbon cask matured, and that's because, well,
it doesn't, you know, it doesn't. Sometimes you might get more, say, more whiskies maybe matured in different casks. Sometimes bourbon, it's just what we thought was right at the time. You know, there's no rhyme there. You know, we don't pick and choose going, we've got to have a sherry cask, we've got to have a bourbon. It's a case of there was 4 bourbon cask matured whiskies available we thought worked well. You know, sometimes there's more sherry or whatever.
We figured out how stubborn you are as well, and it's not quite ready yet.
Let's
leave it another few months.
I'm not stubborn.
Sometimes.
That's the least of the stories to talk about, right?
Thankfully, I think thankful that we can do all the bottling on site and turn these around quite quickly when we get to that stage. But no, it's always good, and it's, as you say, when you come across them and pick them, it always works well. But yeah, we've got a good lineup tonight.
We've got Lars Whiskey Radar, I think that is there. Sorry if I butchered your name there. Jenna, looking forward to you and Andy bringing some of these to Canada, which is a good segue on to another one very soon. Yeah. We've got Ruth saying hello there. She's saying, is it 100 degrees Celsius? Does that mean the tune has been over 18 today? It's actually maybe only 16, but it's felt about 100.
It's been really nice today.
As Gav has said hello as well from Edinburgh. Excellent.
Good to see you all. Yeah, Lars I met in Canada in October. We did a tasting for the Red Deer Whisky Club, which was pretty good, and it was in an old brewery. It's not an old.
That makes sense of the name now. Yeah. Red Deer. There we go. Then that's.
So that was pretty good, and that's kind of the reason why we kind of sporadically put up some world maps behind us, and we've got the flags, and we do have Canada up there as well. But yeah, with the original collection being part of our international release, the makeup of it is we generally use between 4 or 5 casks up to 10. We have done a few more recently, and it's to create bigger volume so that we can distribute this around the world and make sure that everyone can get to taste it as much as possible. So we distribute to markets all over. At the moment, we've got 17 markets that get an upfront allocation of the original collection, and we're able to spread that out nicely. And the idea of getting out and about, visiting everyone, doing tastings like that we did with Lars, and speaking about our products, making sure everyone knows the story behind them, similar to what we're doing tonight, and letting people enjoy Cadenhead. So we distribute all over. We've been busy over the last year. We've managed to make up for our lack of travel.
You've made up for it. Carbon footprints through the roof here where you're travelling.
Let's not speak about it. Finley will give me a row. But yeah, we've made up for that, and we'll continue to do that too. So we've got lots kind of planned, lots of events between the UK and the world for which is upcoming. So we'll continue that as we go on. You're going to get out and about a bit more as well.
Just out the office, maybe. This is me getting out and about into the studio here.
Yeah, we just spoke about the last time I was doing one of the live tastings was when we had the mishap with the camera ran out of battery.
We've got Nathan in the background here. He's doing some dodgy signals there.
He knows not to say them out loud this time. The camera ran out of battery, but the microphone didn't, unfortunately. So.
But we've learned those lessons, so hopefully there'll be no expletives tonight.
But yeah, I've been travelling, and we've had a lot more people joining in throughout our shops, and giving everyone a bit of chance. Kind of trying to vary these tastings up as well, so it's not. It's a lovely night in Campbelltown tonight. I'm sure it is all over wherever you are as well. So hopefully we've got a few tuning in, and you're not all out enjoying the sun, out walks and sitting in the garden. But as I say, you can watch this back as well. And And we'll try and vary it up with recorded videos and things so that you can get the latest information about all the products as well.
I think the whole purpose of this as well is to kind of showcase. I think it's something that part, especially your job, I used to do that kind of area as well, where we do go across the world. And I think people, maybe it's not as well known how far our reach is across the world. And I think it's something that I think it's a good for yourself to actually, it was a good idea to actually sort of highlight, you know, we are across the globe as well. And we have been for years. It's not a new thing. And part of it too, I know we joke that you've had a wee jolly for the last couple of years travelling the world, but there's a lot of hard work involved in it. I'm going to be nice to you for once here. There is a lot of hard work.
Only because I found out what you did.
We'll not talk about that. It was different days back then. But it is, and to spread, I say it's hard. There's a lot of the travel, but getting to meet people in other markets as well is a brilliant thing. It's, as much as I'd love to say, it is brilliant as part of our job that we can do things like that, and we're very fortunate that we get to spread the sort of the knowledge and the gospel, shall we say, of like the companies like Cadenhead as well. You know, like it's great products that we've got, and wherever we go, it's very sought after. It's unbelievable when you go to places like Japan, like in Canada, like there, how people know so much about the company. And I think when I first started doing it, and you realise I'm from Campbelltown, a small place in the west of Scotland, that people thousands and thousands of miles away across the world actually know about us. In fact, they know more than what a lot of people here actually do. I find that incredible, and it's not something we get complacent about. You know, like you'll be continuing to travel more. Myself, Grant as well, get Carly on the road as well sometimes too. In fact, we've been asked there, are we going to be doing sort of tastings, like club tastings, like kind of across the UK as well. Like, well, Grant's been organising quite a few, and I think I'll be doing some of those as well as going abroad too. And even with our Cadenhead club, which we'll talk about later, like you did a club tasting for some of our members in Singapore. And how many was it?
Got about 20, 25, maybe even 30 on a Sunday evening.
You know, and that was club, and I think altogether there was like close to 100 club members in Singapore. Obviously, they couldn't all make it to that one that date, but it just shows you like how far the net is, to be honest with you, with Cadenhead. So it's brilliant to see.
No, certainly, and I think you and I are both from Campbelltown. Well, we all are at Cadenheads, and not only do we get to spread about the word about our own products in Cadenheads, but it's been almost an ambassador for Campbelltown, because we all know a lot of you will be visiting us soon over the next couple of weeks for the Malts Festival, and later in the year for our own open day Cadenheads in the courtyard. And just it's that general time to get moving and visit us here on site. And we've been doing a lot. We've now pretty much got our own complex between our warehouse tastings and our bar, our blending lab, and the shop here in Campbelltown alone, which is really good to see as well. So it's getting out and spreading the word about everything like that, and then welcoming you when you get to Campbelltown as well.
Excellent. And of course, should also point out that all these whiskies that we're trying tonight actually go on sale tomorrow in the UK, but for a lot of the people you work with, the export markets, they were shipped out at the beginning of May, so they're probably most likely not reached a lot of the countries yet, but they'll be on their way very soon as well.
Yeah, and if anyone's interested in finding out where they are, we can certainly supply you with our importers who's distributing it, and they'll be able to advise whether it's in a bar or in a shop nearby you, and we can point you in the right direction. But we are more than happy to supply that information, and over the next wee while you'll see more of that online as well.
We've got a Christopher Malloy asking, Cadenheads are nearly impossible to find anywhere near the New York City area. Any chance of improving that situation? Again, it's a common complaint that we get. We do distribute to the US as well, but it is very difficult even though we do quite a lot bigger vattings, bottlings for like our international release, to satisfy the whole world is very difficult. And a country of 330 million people, it's very hard. Now, some of our stuff does make New York as well. I mean, it's It is very difficult though. I think a lot of it's going to be kind of luck. We have our importers there as well, and that can maybe get in touch with, and they can maybe give you a heads up what would be coming across there too. But it's something that we would love to be able to get it everywhere, but it's something that can't promise it, but we can definitely put an ear in to try and get a word in, sorry, to try and get.
You visited not New York.
Yeah, I was in New York.
New York.
God, that's probably about 6 years ago now.
Yeah.
It only seems a couple of years ago, but.
So you were out last year in America, and I did last February.
I was in the West Coast last February, yeah.
And I'm not long back, beginning of March maybe.
Yep.
Yeah. So we're out and about there as well, but it's such a big place, and there's just not enough time to make everywhere at once. But we're trying to get out as often as we can.
We need to get to New York as well. That's a good place to go.
I wouldn't mind going to New York. Make the most of all these places that we visit, if there's any spare time. But we've certainly worked hard when we go
definitely.
to the US. That's one thing I learned.
Definitely. And we've got Nathan, you're the unsung hero of these tastes. Oh.
Is that what you're
how much did you pay Ruth for that one? That's a...
I've never seen Nathan so smiley.
That's it.
Smiling over there quite a bit.
We'll move on to dram number 2 before. He seems too happy just now. So dram number 2, and we're moving on to the Milton Duff Distillery. 15 years old, and again, this one is from bourbon barrels that we had mixed together and reduced to 46%. Now, again, the sort of styles of a lot of bourbon casks, especially some Speysiders that we've got, they're going to have sort of similarities, the kind of different rich fruit notes. This one was more of green apples, the Glen glassa. Probably more red apples coming from this one, looking at the taste notes that we did previously.
I never even noticed that.
We've got quite diverse palettes at Cadenheads as well, of course, so it's different colours of apples, that's how we do it. But it has got that kind of more kind of sweeter nose, and from the palate too, I remember it was a bit kind of more syrupy.
Yeah, and I'm getting a lot of butter from this one. It's kind of standing out, the honey butter that we noted down on that one too. I'll not mention where from. It's definitely not that restaurant in Campbelltown.
Wait, what's the address of it?
Is it number 42?
I think that might be the name of it.
A really nice.
There are other honey butters as well from other places that are very good too, of course, but that's a very good honey butter.
Everyone will be asking what squirty cream is.
Did we put that in?
Yeah, we have.
Oh, God.
I'm sure we discussed that one as well.
I don't do the proofs of the labels anymore, so don't blame me for that one.
But yeah, squishy cream. Out a tin, really, isn't it?
Yeah. There's Florian. Hi, Florian. Hope you're well. We've got the same question from Bram about any info of the festival bottles. We will tell you about those very shortly. As in tonight, we will do it tonight. Mm-hmm. It's going to get officially announced next week. Well, we've had them picked for a couple of weeks now, but we'll just announce it now.
Yeah,
just go for it. So this year, our festival is going to be slightly different for Cadenheads. Normally, during the week, there's always activities on. We have a club tasting on the Tuesday and the Wednesday for our club members, and then on the Wednesday night, there's a dinner as well at the Springbank Malt Barns. Then normally Thursday is the Springbank Open Day. Then Friday is split as a Cadenheads and Kilkerran Open Day. But this year, because it's Kilkerran's 20th anniversary, we thought we'd give them the full day for it. So we were instead of having half a day, we've went for a full week pretty much. There's more and more people coming to Campbelltown as well, and we thought we'd kind of try and spread it out a bit to give more people a bit of chance to relax as well, not have to try and clamber to get the tickets or try and get as many tastings on each day. So we put warehouse tastings on during the whole week, these special warehouse tastings. We have our normal ones as well, which are obviously very good as well. I don't want to say normal, but
everyday warehouse.
But we have a special one for the festival too, which will be Monday to Saturday. And on the Friday, we also have a big tasting for Cadenheads as well. But slightly different. We normally do a bottling on the Friday, but this time we're going to do 2 bottlings and spread it across the week. So we've got 2 different styles of bottlings that we thought we would do. One is a 25-year-old Ben Nevis, which matured in a bourbon hogshead. So that's going to be, I think it's 51.4%. We'll have all the full details for it next week, along with the pictures. And the other is going to be an 11-year-old from the Ardmore distillery, which has been matured in a Madeira hogshead since 2017. So it's quite a hefty amount of time in the Madeira as well. Both these bottlings, they're quite contrasting styles, but I think you want to try and give sort of different styles for different people. People have different palates, so you want to try and make it a bit open from them. And of course, we'll have warehouse tasting bottlings as well. I won't mention those ones. We want to keep those a bit more secret for the people doing the tastings as well. But from the Campbelltown Cadenhead shop on the Monday of the week of the festival, it's the 20th, I believe.
Yeah.
There will be a 25-year-old Ben Nevis available and an 11-year-old Ardmore in Madeira cask. So the pricing for those as well, the Ben Nevis 25-year-old will be £225 a bottle, and the Ardmore will be £55 a bottle. And there should be plenty there. You know, there's a lot of the bottles available. I think there's at least 250 of each as well anyway. So it should mean that there'll be plenty for people for the whole week as well to come. So we're not expecting big queues at 7 in the morning or whatever.
Yeah, all week from the shop, and we should get some stock up to Springbank Distillery for the Thursday, and it'll be available on the Friday at Glen Distillery too. So you shouldn't need to be running all over town for it.
No,
you'll find it.
No, that's one thing we always want to do. We always want to make sure that it's available. You know, we know what happened like years ago, and we've tried to stop that to make sure there's enough availability for everyone. So there should be enough for every one of this. And 2 cracking drams as well. In fact, the Ardmore as well that we were choosing, it's myself and Ranald, our sales director. There was a couple that we quite liked. So we went into the office and spoke to Jenna, Grant and Carly, and it was like, never said anything. It was like, right, can we get your opinions? And I think it was unanimous. Mm-hmm. It was the Ardmore, which me and Ranald both really liked as well. So I thought it was quite good. But sometimes you just want to clarify that. You're like, is this just us two, or but to see everybody else? Yeah.
The Ardmore being in the Madeira cask, and the Madeira really shines. It really works well with the Ardmore, which
I've always found Madeira and a little bit of peat work, like peated casks in Madeira. I think always kind of works quite well. It kind of complements each other, a bit of the spice too.
Yeah, because when we found out, it was like, oh really? Is that what it was? And no, we all really enjoyed that one, and the Ben Nevis as well. I'm a big fan of Ben Nevis.
Yeah, the Ben Nevis is lovely.
It's lovely as well. So.
It's a full maturation in the bourbon hogshead too, so it's lovely, really fruity, kind of very kind of tropical fruits I can remember from it as well. A lovely, lovely dram.
The Malts Festival's turning out, or as it always is, but it's going to be a good week. We've been going through all the bottlings ourselves over the last couple of days, just tasting them and getting to know what's what and where it's going. So it'll definitely be a good week to look forward to.
Bram's asked, is there also a special bottle with the big Cadenhead's tasting? Well, we've done the 2 special ones for the week. We'll also have the warehouse tasting ones and the other warehouse tasting. I think along with that, plus the Springbank, Kilcairn, Hazelburns, Longrose, we thought that was maybe enough. So the big tasting, it's a cracking lineup. We were just going over it again the other day there, but there won't be one sold after it. It will be, you will get the chance that the 2 bottlings will actually be on that tasting though. So you will get a taste of it, that one. Are you all ready for the festival? I think so.
I think today we're at that stage. Are we too organised?
I think we have nowadays. I think Jenna's been here longer than I have, but this is my 10th or 11th festival, I think now, and it's changed. You know, even like because now we've got such a big team. Mm-hmm. You know, we've got like over 100 staff, I think, in Campbelltown now. That we have people, we've got like specialised like bar staff as well, like whereas we would always pitch in and do the bar, but we've actually people who know how to do it properly rather than us coming
With all
in.
the equipment there.
Yeah, everything's done, like Mary,
instead of ordering it in weeks before. And
Mary, Julie and Lara doing all the events organising too, so I think we got into a kind of, especially Grant, he was getting into a panic of like, if we got everything, but it's like, it's all at hand, it's all in hand, everything's there. So Mary's, Julie and Lara for the down to a T.
Well, I visited them yesterday and actually said gold star for Cadenhead for being so organised.
See, we were organised.
It's mainly Cameron to thank for that. They did ask me, were you helping? I was like, I can't say I was.
I didn't have to do much. Pick some whiskies, I think that was it.
But yeah.
Anywho, back to the Milton Duff there.
He doesn't like a compliment, if you can tell.
The Milton Duff, again, kind of similar to the Glen glassa. This is again, like the bourbon cask whiskies are my kind of style too. It's always I love that kind of the sweet, the light fruitiness as well. And this is a classic kind of Speyside one. It's quite different to the Glen glassa though. It's maybe not as fruity. It's probably it's a bit more of a kind of funkier note too. There's maybe a little kind of like a bit of the wood's kind of coming through, but not like overpowering it. It's just it's got a slight kind of, this is going to sound a bit detrimental, but it's a kind of like damp wood, but I quite like that kind of flavour behind it as well.
And I think it's good to see the Milton Duff in the bourbon casks. We have done a few more recently in the different styles of casks as well. So we've done the sort of heavily sherry finished, which is good for our tasting reels as well. So that's why we introduce them, to make sure you're in the right path to find a whiskey more suited to yourself when you find that style. And the tasting wheel for this one in particular, it's kind of more balanced, a wee bit heavier on the fruitier side, a touch of sweetness, a wee bit floral note, and a wee touch of spice in there too. So that'll be completely different to maybe some of the heavier sherried ones that we've done this time last year, the year before, I think maybe even.
Yeah, I think as well, look, we've had a couple of quotes, and Alan Smith said that we're talking about Ardmore as well, that it lends itself to a multitude of casks. I think that's a good point. It really does. It's good in bourbon, it's good in sherry, it's good in wine, it's good in port. I think it's good. It's just
the Pinot Noir cask.
That was really good.
Yeah.
We've got one asking from Raymaster, asking, will there be a long row from the original collection? Maybe.
We wouldn't say no.
Maybe. Possibly. Still working on Finlay to get stock available for it, but
it's been a bonus that we have had a Springbank and a Hazelbank so far.
So I don't want to get it's not a promise or anything like that, but I'm hoping maybe we can get something from that. If it works, that is. We wouldn't do it just because of the name. It would have to be one that works right. Also, it
fits into the release.
Yeah, and also like our neighbours at Springbank, they have limits for their casks as well. They need every single one of theirs. So I know that we can. When we've managed to poach some good ones recently, so it's. But I'm hoping so in the future. But I'm not guaranteeing anything just yet.
I think it's a good point there as well. Like when selecting, especially the original collection, or international releases are generally of 6 products, 3 times a year, and whenever we put them together and we do these tasting packs, they work well together as a release. You can taste them on a flight like this, and it flows really nicely as well.
We've had one as well saying it's glad to see some bourbon barrel expressions. The last couple of races seem very sherry focused. As we said, we're always trying to. You don't want to just do one sort of style for everything, but sometimes it comes out. There's 4 in a row. Sometimes you might get only 2 in a release, depending on what we can get to work together. So it's never actually like picked on, let's just make sherry releases or whatever, or wine releases. So you might get 6 bourbons, you might get 6 sherries. It all depends on it. So it's not preconceived that we need to have a sherry whiskey or whatever. We do try, and maybe with some collections that we quite like to get a variety, because everybody has different flavour profiles. I mentioned earlier I'm more of a bourbon cask fan. When I started drinking whiskey, I was more a sherry cask fan, or peat and sherry, to be honest with you. And now I went the complete opposite. I'm probably like kind of bourbon cask style. You get people who want just peat, some that just want sherry, some that want wine. So you do try and make a kind of, you want to try and give as many options as possible. It's just a coincidence that 4 from this one have been bourbon.
I think we aim as well we try not repeat the same distillery within a year. So looking for the variety in different distilleries itself, ages, and cask types. It's as you come across them, what stock we've got available and what works at the time.
That's correct. I mean, even, we've got 2 different, there's an 8-year-old and a 15-year-old there. We didn't just go, let's have a younger one, let's have an older one. It was, we were trying some of the casks with these worked, so we thought, yeah, let's go for it.
Mm-hmm. Well, we move on to the 16 years old.
Yeah, I think so.
So next up, we've got the Glen Muray, 16 years old, and again, bourbon cask matured. So this one as well, I quite like this one too. It's all that ripe, foam, sweet bananas coming through, kind of almost banana loaf or syrup sauce and toffee sauce, butterscotch. But yeah, really nice dram that we've got here as well.
Get that with a lot of Glen Muray casks that we've got, especially the bourbon kind of barrels. Once they get to a kind of certain age, they get a lot of that kind of bubble gum kind of note as well, that kind of real fruity. And I think that's what this has got too. I think it's, you were asking at the start, like, what was your favourite? And because it was ages ago that we tried these, I was like, what one was it? And I think the Glen Muray was the one that I liked the best at the time. Although I think I'm maybe going back to the Glen glassa, I'm not sure. But I really do like this Glen Muray, and I think it's a distillery that is kind of fairly available. You see a lot of it. It's really good quality stuff as well, like best independent bottling stuff. But they're doing a lot of their own good work as well. But I think maybe because there is quite a lot of it in the market, that maybe I think people maybe get a bit complacent with it. But you can get some really cracking whiskey from it too. And I think that this is another kind of showcase of that as well. And again, bourbon barrels, we did nothing to them. It was the ones that were maturing on.
Well, even when you're saying there, like, I couldn't remember what one was your favourite, is because you've picked this so long ago, and then we've kind of revisited it to kind of complete taste notes and things, and this is it being launched, but you're now working on releases much further in advance.
Try to.
So it's reminding ourselves when these come round again. We're launching these now. It's now going around the world.
I love doing these tastings as well, because you actually get back to it and you forget, I forgot that one.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've had this one selected for a while. So we had our Taiwanese importer over not so long ago, and I gave Jamie the lineup and a wee taste whilst he was here visiting, and this one definitely stood out for him as well. He was impressed and taking in more than just Cadenhead products. He thought this would work really well in Taiwan as well. So that's always good to hear. And he's been and visited been able to taste the product already, and it'll be shipped out to Taiwan just directly.
I think we've got one from Ian there saying that loves the Glen Muray. It's perfect for this time of year, and I think that's right. Actually,
that's a very.
I think we would actually see if it was a big heavy, peaty or sherry night. I think me and you would struggle tonight because of the heat. Yeah. I think having the light of the bourbons is probably kind of helped slightly a bit with this one. Mm-hmm. But no, I think that's a cracking dram. And 16-year-old whiskey now. This is going to come out at £75 a bottle. It's difficult to get 16-year-old whiskey nowadays for that kind of money. I think we try and make it that way that it's you open it and drink it. Mm-hmm. This isn't for collecting. This is for drinking. That's the kind of the whiskey. And I think I'm going to get a bottle of this as well myself. So.
Well, we're up against it as well. Like, everything in the world's getting more and more expensive, but we try and keep everything as reasonable to what we can, so that people can open up and enjoy these whiskies. And there's a few in the pipeline, actually. I think I've been hearing a few people, I'll need to remember and buy this bottle, I'll need to remember and buy that one. So no, it's good to come back and visit them. I struggle with that, obviously, with the releases being dispatched and hitting markets at all different times of the year. I can go to a market and it can maybe be one that we've launched in February, so it's good to get back into, oh, it's this release and speaking about that as well, and then you get into a bit of a rhythm. But yeah, we've got our products launching in different places at all various times of the year. Tomorrow will be the UK, but our European markets will see this within the next couple of weeks, and then from there on you'll begin to see it all over the world.
When's your next sort of show? Probably till after the summer, isn't it? The shows, it's usually.
Yes, so I'll be in Belgium in August, and we've got some tastings planned in August. We'll be out in France for the Dugas Club Expert show. We've got Spirits in the Sky confirmed as well in Belgium in November. But yeah, these are all kind of, the information's beginning to come in just now, so we're kind of signing up and getting some tastings organised all over. Grant's got quite a few shows in the UK.
Yeah, I think he's got Kendall. No, sorry, it's Ayr first. We've got Robbie's Drams in Ayr. I think Kendall's later on in the year, isn't it?
I think that's nearer December, beginning.
Oh God, that's quite later on in the
year. But yeah, they'll be going up to just up the road, not far away, Tarbert Seafood Festival.
They'll
have a presence at that.
That's exactly it. I think we started doing that a couple of years ago, but I think it's turned out quite a good event, that one. I think it's a good day out, full stop.
Yeah.
It's maybe not so much a whiskey festival, but I think it's a kind of gala day. I think it's a really good day out.
If you're passing through. And he's off to Newcastle as well.
He loves Newcastle. He goes there quite a lot.
I think he's been there already this year.
I think he has been, actually. So we are trying to do. We are going to be on the road a lot more as well. Like, that's just the ones you've got confirmed. Like, it takes time to get. Like, you're probably going to about another 1 million countries as well. But we want to try and get Cadenhead's like showcased, especially like all the countries that you're going to as well, but even within the UK as well. You know, I know that there's a lot of areas, especially the likes of the kind of like northern and mid England as well, which is very difficult to. You're not near a shop, you know. So I think we're going to try and do a bit of tastings there. Even southern, like we've got our shop in London, Edinburgh, Campbelltown, so they kind of spread the bases of trying to get like sort of touring about these areas, but there's obviously a kind of big gap as well. So we're always looking for suggestions as well. Any suggestions, please email Carly at the club. We actually have got a big list already that we are going to hopefully start announcing soon, or trying to get about a bit more as well, and not necessarily just for club members too. We want to kind of like make it a bit more inclusive and
for general whisky clubs,
you know, general whisky clubs too. But I think we're just trying to get on the road a bit more as well.
Yeah, and I know some markets can be difficult to put tastings together for certain rules and regulations and things as well. So when we can get in touch with whisky clubs that's kind of got the facilities and that set up already there, we're more than happy to try and pull something together and get out to see you guys. As I say, we enjoy it when we're out, getting to meet people and spreading the word of Cadenheads. There might be a few other benefits in there we can fit in if there's any touristy things in that area as well that we think could be good.
We've got a few year D's asking if we can go to Leicester. I actually quite fancy going to Leicester. I want to go for the football as well. I've always quite fancied going to
a stadium.
As I know, that's I'm always a big child, haven't I? We've got Alan Smith's asking, do you need to change tactic these days with cask purchases so you can still release whiskies at a decent price in the future too? We're quite fortunate, Alan, in that regards. That, I mean, of course, everyone's affected by the increase in the prices, but we're fortunate that we've been buying like previously as well. And the tactic has always been for us that we've always bought for the future, to try and kind of look after it, nurture the casks as well, rather than just be a kind of almost like you just be somebody who's going to buy a cask and then sell it away. You know, we're not really a kind of merchant like that. It is to try and kind of look after and nurture it. And generally we kind of always overpaid, I don't mean overpaid, sorry, but it'd be a bit more expensive to bottle instantly. But when I say they were a bit more expensive back in the day, they've now went up 10, 15, 20 times the price. But because we've got that inventory of stock as well, that some of the stuff that we're buying is probably quite a premium now. They won't get bottled until they're like maybe another 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years away, when the price will actually seem like reasonable as well. So it is kind of difficult. There are some, of course, that we're not immune from. We still have to sometimes buy casks that are maybe not as available, and they are more expensive. And when we're buying ones as well, you know, we need to buy, every time we bottle one, we need to replace that. And so we have to kind of find that balance, but we also don't want to take the mick, because a lot of the what's got us to where we are, it's based on it's good drinking whiskey that you can actually try. Of course, there's going to be one or two that are going to be higher price. You know, that's just the way that the market is. But we can't give away whiskies either. You know, there's some that are going to be unobtainable even for us in the future, that we don't know are going to become available. So, like for instance, closed distilleries and whatnot, you know, there has to be a kind of way where, well, if we sell at a higher price, we'll invest more. It's not that we're doing it to be greedy, it's more that we need it to invest in other casks as well. But we try and make sure that we try and kind of keep things at a price that you can buy and drink. You know, we've got the 15-year-old Milton Duff at £70, you know, a 16-year-old at 75. The Glen glassa 8-year-old at 65 is probably higher when you look at the comparison. Again, the casks were a bit more expensive compared to the rest. But even now, you know, even I was thinking, oh, it's quite high, you know, like, but that's just the kind of what we've got to work with. But you see nowadays, there's new whiskies coming out for like £80, £90. That's Glen glassa. That's a very, very reputable distillery as well, and that's a good quality whiskey too. So, in the way the market is now, maybe 10 years ago, but everything's exactly the same. It was more expensive than it was. That I think it's still at a price that you can open up the bottle and drink it, and it's not going to break the bank completely. So there are those challenges, but we try and kind of we try and get the balance of making sure that it can be affordable to drink as well.
And we try and factor in a lot of costs as well. And as you were saying with the purchasing casks for and laying them down for the future, that's something I've become more and more aware of more recently. I've always known how much we focus on the sort of the re-racking side, and whether it's even just into to refill bourbon or fresh bourbon, just to give that bit of a boost in energy. But some of the samples that I see coming through of good age, and they've been in not very active wood, and you're talking 20 plus years. It's not just a case of purchasing and bottling.
Yeah.
It is really looking after the stock to get it to the quality and the standard that we think it should be at. Just out of more respect for ourselves, but the product, and to make it more enjoyable. Like, we could just be a turning around these constantly, as you say, as a merchant, but we really do take our time over these.
And with that, I wasn't trying to be disrespectful to like ones that have to do that. You know, it's just a different game. It's not that, you know, understand the kind of nature of that, and it is a very difficult industry to get into. You know, people always ask, in fact, I've had multiple people over the years saying like, oh, I'd love to be an independent bottler, how do I get into it? And I'm like, well, it's probably not the easiest game to get into.
Well, we're in a fortunate position. We buy blind, and we've got the facilities and the team here to be able to work with these casks. So, you know,
and it's taken nearly 200 years of that to build that reputation, though. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's not an easy thing just to come by, and it's people long before us as well that have done that hard work. So we're just part of a sort of long process of keeping the company going like that. We'll move on to the next dram before I ramble on anymore.
Yes, this is an interesting one as well.
So the next one we're going to try is from the Inchgower distillery. This one's slightly different. This has been re-racked. We actually, for just under 2 years, this one was actually put into refill PX casks, which previously held Springbank. Some of you may know that Springbank had a sherry series, or are doing a sherry series release. I think was a PX the first one from it. Possibly, I think it would have been. I think it was, yeah. And from that, there was quite a number of empty casks after, like once the guys had done the vatting and bottled it. So I spoke to our a production director, Finlay Ross, and this is, well, if there's any spare going, I'd quite fancy, using some of those empty casks. And we put some in. We put a few other casks in it as well, but with quite a number of Inchgowers that we tried at that point, which needed a bit of a boost. They weren't bad as such, but at this point, like they were about 12 years old, 11, 12 years old, and the cask just wasn't really doing anything for it. So we thought, well, let's see what the refill PX would do, and especially having the Springbank character behind it as well, that maybe some of the lightly peatiness might come through too, and I think it actually has.
Yeah, we were quite surprised when we were going over the typical briny coastal note that was coming through, and it must definitely be from them having Springbank previously in them casks. But the refill PX side of things as well is working really well, because it's not heavy, but there's still lots of the dried raisins and syrups and cola and cinnamon things coming through in that as well. So it's nice not to be dominant in that side of things as well.
I think you're spot on with that one. I think if we put it in the fresh casks, it would have maybe been too much for it at the time. Inchgower's quite a good spirit anyway. It's a favourite from independent bottlers as well. But I think, if looking back at the notes of what we needed to help with it, it wasn't bad, like before we redact it, just, as I said, just need a little boost. But I didn't think in sort of like maybe 2 years that it would get that much influence, because it was quite light, and you can see the colour of it's quite weird as well. So it's not like a first fill PX, it's not got that kind of, it has got a little kind of, it has darkened it slightly, but it's actually given it a lot more flavour than I thought it would have done in that time, which kind of shows you the power for PX as well. But even in the finish, you get some of that kind of light smoke, which obviously Springbank's a lightly peated whiskey too, and I think what helps give it a kind of balance as well, and I think it's a pretty interesting whiskey, this one. Yeah,
really interesting nose, interesting throughout, but I think a lot of people were probably surprised by the taste notes if they'd read over them before going and tasting it as well, and then having a taste yourself to see what you think. It's one of them it's a surprising dram. It's one that you wouldn't quite expect it to be as it is. One of these deceiving ones, which keeps you on your toes.
I think it's different as well. I think sometimes, as I kind of mentioned earlier, that you've got to kind of have something a bit unusual. I don't mean that unusual as long as it's in a good way. I don't mean like, oh, this is different, it's a bit wacky and it doesn't taste that great. I think it's got to obviously have a quality behind it as well. But I think for this one, again, 14 years old, and again, it's £55 a bottle. It's something that's interesting. It's got good characteristics behind it, and it's at a price, and it's a drinking whiskey as well. Again, it's another one you'll open up, and it's not just plain and boring. It's quite complex. There's a lot going on with it as well.
It'll be approachable to those that are kind of looking for that light smoke, but as well for the people that try and normally avoid that, it's still on that right side, that if they're not too keen on a light smoke or a bit of peatiness, it's still very approachable in that sense as well. We've got asked, are all those casks aging in the warehouse Scotch or other international whiskies as well? We've got whiskies from around the world too. We've got bourbons and ryes also. So we've got like Irish whiskey. We've got Paul John still in there as well. What else have we got international? It's kind of, most of the time nowadays when we buy out with the UK, generally now that they come in IBCs, like these plastic containers, because it's obviously quite difficult for transporting wood across borders as well. Sometimes the stipulation is though that with that we're not allowed to put it into wood, so we then have to maybe bottle it instantly. Like for instance, Irish whiskey comes in, once it leaves Ireland it can't age anymore. You can't, so you've pretty much got to kind of bottle Irish whiskey when it comes in. Some companies we work with have said we don't want you to mature it on, but we've generally, when we buy whiskies abroad, we've sampled those first, so we know what we're getting. Most of the time though, we can get to mature it, we can put it in the cask when it comes here. For Brazilian whiskey, I forgot we tried some of that again today.
sure we've got other stuff I can't think of.
Yeah, I'm trying to think them off the top of my head. I know we've got.
There's definitely other things. I can't. There's definitely other stuff as well. We even tried some of the Brazilian stuff this afternoon. I forgot all about that. But yeah, we've got multiple other things, and obviously rums as well.
The Brazilian's always a good one. It's one that I think most people are club members anyway. Cadenhead's club members discovered through one of the Malts Festival tastings a few years ago when we put it in the blind lineup, and nobody would believe us it was Brazilian to begin with.
They thought we got the Ardbeg mixed up with it.
But yeah, we'll be doing another club tasting.
We will be, and we're doing the lineup for it, and it's very, very good again.
Wee bit of fun planned, wee bit more interaction. So
yep.
Plus we managed to get the two. I think there's limited spaces left in one of them.
I think one's fully booked, and there's only a couple I think left in the other. I can't remember which one it is. If it's the Tuesday afternoon or the Wednesday morning.
Yeah. But yeah, that's Carly was getting all that organised this afternoon as well. So that's
really good. That's about 250 club members like coming for the club tasting.
So early in the week.
Yeah, you know, that's brilliant to see as well. You know, and again it shows you, you know, like the following that we've got as well, and like it's amazing as well, like seeing how many people make the effort to come to Campbelltown to, you know, and it's our favourite week of the year. The next week's usually a week of recovery, but it's that week is a brilliant week for us all.
I've got days off planned.
I know you do. I think you got and Carly. That was.
I think we planned them well.
We've got asked here, what's the typical outturns on the original releases? These can vary completely. You know, for instance, you know, sometimes some of them will be 10 casks, might be 10 hogsheads or 10 barrels, which, I mean, you could get 500-600 cases of 6, you know, like, so what's 500 times 6? Say 3,500, 3,000 bottles, whatever. I couldn't really say a multiple of 5, the easiest one to do that. You know, and sometimes there's maybe, we've done ones with lots of butts as well, you know, but some of the butts are maybe half empty, you know, some of them were like completely full just about. So it can vary. They're not always a similar amount, you know, so sometimes you'll maybe get, a market might get, you know, 1,000 bottles of something, but maybe only 800 bottles of another, maybe only 400 bottles of another one, or, you know, so it all depends, and you're trying to get that to 17 markets as well. And you're always getting asked by other countries to try and get the whiskey into their markets, so people want it as well in other countries too, but
it's making sure we don't spread ourselves too thin. We're kind of in a good position at the moment, and we're always open to speaking and seeing what other markets is that we're not in, and yeah, maybe that's something that we can introduce in the future as well. But we'll do it bit by bit, because you last thing we want to do is go from 0 to 100. It's keeping a steady line, making sure everyone's happy as well. And I think every market's different as well. So some markets prefer certain whiskies or distilleries or styles more than others, and we've got it's a fine balance to make sure that everything goes to the right place.
It's something, it's part of our job as well, because it's to try and break a lot of those barriers down there. I remember that there'd be, I don't want to name certain markets, but they'd be like, oh, a certain distillery doesn't sell well here, and it's like, yeah, but this is our version of it, and that's what we always do with our bottlings. It's maybe, you know, like, this tastes different to what that particular distillery might put out. So, you know, you might find out there is clientele here that would like this style or whatever. So it's a fine line, but it is difficult, and I know exactly what to, you know, like, sometimes a reputation, which I think can be harsh, you know, and I think it's also us trying to educate that as well. So we're also, of course, it's our bottlings of it, but we like to showcase these distilleries as well, you know, like the likes of Glen, glassa, Milton, Duff, you know, Glen Murray, Inchgower, we've got Linkwood and Bunnahabhain. These are all quality distilleries as well. And, you know, even though it's our bottlings of them, you know, they've done a lot of excellent work to begin the process for us to get to this point. So we've got a kind of duty to try and highlight that they've done excellent work as well. And of course, it's us, it's our company, and we're doing what our bottlings of it. But like we are independent, as I always say this one. But an independent bottler, we are very dependent on what distilleries will release us. So it is something that we're a fan of all whiskey, and it's to try and showcase and educate that around the world too.
And it could be that just that's not as well known within that market. It's not a distillery that they recognise as much because they're not producing their own product. Their core range is mainly going towards a blend, for example. And it's just, as you say, educating. And the independent bottling is, our bottlings do take that bit of speaking. And if you're not familiar with independent bottlings, it does take a bit of education to the consumer before they kind of
absolutely
understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. And when you've done that, when you've ticked that box off, it just opens up everything, a brand new world.
It can be difficult trying to convince somebody. So why aren't the distillery? Because they don't like it. So not quite. There's other factors behind it too. They might have needed cash flow, so they've released some stock or whatever. They might have some surplus for requirements, and then we've looked after it. And I think even though independent bottling is bigger than it's ever been, in the grand scheme of things, it's still a tiny part of the whiskey market. Although, again, it is growing every year, and it is something that it's part of our duty to try and kind of push it as well.
We've got to be thankful to those that we probably don't mention enough. Is like we've got importers that's got sales representatives that's going around all our markets as well, making sure that these products are in shops for you guys as well. And is getting out, part of the job is getting out to see them to make sure they've got the latest information and why we've been playing around. Is this 100%, is this finished? And whilst we're here in Campbelltown, we're using things like this studio and doing that virtually as well. So we're doing training sessions and whatnot with our teams all over, which is been going really well as well.
And hopefully educating everybody tonight as well.
Well,
Will we go on to the next one?
yeah, I think so. So next up, we've got a distillery I'm always fairly keen on. We've got Linkwood, 10 years old, and this was finished in Oloroso sherry, and I believe for around 2 years as well. But this, you can see from, it's taking on a bit more of the colour, and even from the notes initially, you're getting that Oloroso syrupy, juicy cherries, berries coming through on the nose, and it's integrated well. Linkwood itself, Speyside Distillery, tends to be that kind of fruity floral, a wee bit of spice. It's always got a bit of body, and I think it's one that can work with the Oloroso and almost soften it and integrate nicely.
Yeah, definitely. Well, again, I talked about Inchgower just a moment ago, that being an independent bottler's favourite. Like you speak to other independent bottlers too, and Linkwood's another one of those staples. Again, quite versatile too, like bourbon and sherry cask. Even though it's quite a lighter style whiskey, it does stand up quite well with a sherry cask too. It's got a kind of good kind of balance with it. And this one, I think we thought that if we left it a bit longer, it might overpower it too much. I think it worked well. You still get a lot of the kind of the dried fruits, but it's not a sherry bomb.
No.
It looks probably more. I think it looks and tastes different, and I think it's got a lot more kind of it probably tastes more like a refill sherry cask, where it's got that kind of like the dried figs, and more of a whiskey rather than maybe just it is a kind of it's more of a sherry that's just at a higher strength.
Yeah, this is one. Linkwood as well. I think it's still got that just a touch of spice. It's not hot at all. But yeah, I think you're right with the kind of refill style. On the colour, I think you would expect it to be more sherried than it actually is. It's coming through lots in the nose, but on the palate it's just nice. You're getting a lot of the bourbon cask coming through as well, the Battenberg cake and things.
It's got some marzipan in there as well, it's a Battenberg, of course.
Vanilla sponge and marzipan, almonds.
I think Ruth's going to have to get banned now. You need to take it easy now, Cameron. You're over 40.
We can always rely on Ruth, I think.
If I take it any easier, I'll be horizontal, I think. That's it. And Alan Smith says, Janie Mitchell should have a peel and reveal on your bottle. I'm not sure what that means, yeah.
Peel and reveal, like maybe having it blind.
Oh, right, okay.
The only other thing I think is like you used to get them cards that you scratched and then you could.
That was a scratch and sniff. That was a,
yeah.
I'm not sure. Maybe expanding that one, Alan. I'm not entirely sure, but
I quite like the blind side of things. I love doing things blind, and then you step away from the influencing factors, whether it's the distillery, the cask type, or the age. The strength's a big one as well. There's been many that I've kind of looked at and thought, oh, this is going to be big.
Yeah.
60 plus, and then you sit and you think, wow, that's dangerous.
Well, we tried one the other day there, and it was 64.1%.
What was that one? Oh, yeah.
I don't want to say because it's going to be used in the festival, but
we were all surprised.
And it does not taste anything like that.
And we had one last year that was like even higher than that. For the club.
That was quite a beast though, that one.
I took that into Finlay to double check the strength because I thought I'd broken the machine.
Mortlick, wasn't it?
I think it was the Mortlick because I keep getting it mixed up with another one. But yeah, it's those sort of factors, and you can get an impression in your head.
You're kind of right. It's about, we're talking about with people not giving distilleries a chance. So that makes sorry, that does make sense. That I think I probably missed that comment from the time, and I've rambled on about so many other things that I forgot what it was meaning. But no, I think that's right. And the blind tasting thing too, it always works best because there's just, there's no prejudice towards cask type, distillery, age, strength. And I think it's always interesting when you do a blind tasting that what would be perceived as the sort of favourites. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the time they're not. A lot of the time they do get to the bottom. We do quite a lot with we've been doing quite a lot recently.
I just love annoying people. I love winding people up. So it's like when they're desperate to know.
You just love winding people up anyway. That's just you.
They're desperate to know what it is, and you're getting your guesses in. And it's interesting to hear some of the guesses. But it's all in good fun as well if we ever do stuff like that. I quite often do it in the warehouse tastings. I had the whiskey school in this week, and we did it, and they enjoyed it, and as ever they were surprised at most of them. But yeah, it's all in good fun, and then it's just an added extra that you might find something that you didn't think you would enjoy previously. And if you can admit that, that's even better.
Yep, that's exactly it. Bram, you love ruining surprises here. Can you reveal one or two bottles that we tasted at archive tasting? No, I'm not going to. I want to try and keep it. You want a surprise, Bram? Come on, you've come here so many times.
I think we spoke about that earlier today, and I think what we'll do as well, as we've got the warehouse tastings throughout the week, we will ask those who are maybe in on Monday to try and keep the information as quiet as possible, just so that we can keep that excitement for everyone else that's coming throughout the week. So maybe not post stuff.
Yeah, it's great putting things on social media and that, but maybe like if you're doing like a warehouse tasting on the Monday, there'll be ones doing it on the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So it'd be possible if it's kind of refrained until maybe later on in the week, just so that it keeps everybody kind of like maybe a bit more surprised when they come in as well. Mm-hmm. It is difficult, and I know it's impossible to try and police too. But we want to try and kind of make it as I think much a surprise for everybody as possible when they come in to do the tastings.
We know you can do it as well.
That's why I asked for only one or two.
We know it's possible, as doable, because everyone that's joined the blending sessions in Campbelltown, we've not seen too much of it online. Nope. I've not anyway, which is really good, and we tend to swap the order of that every so often as well to keep that surprise there. But
we've seen the finished product a lot online, but nobody's revealed like what the cask types are, and I think that's pretty good. So
which is nice too. Yeah. So we know you can do it. Plus we've got the club tasting. We've got 2 club tastings.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll not spoil it.
We won't spoil, but there's a lot of interaction going on. We'll maybe go into the last dram, because this water is actually roasting hot just now. I took a gulp and it's like hot water just now. So the final dram of tonight is the 10-year-old, from Bunnahabhain Distillery. Now this one is one of the peated expressions that Bunnahabhain do, known as stoisha. Again, bourbon cask we use for this one, and reduced to 46%. This is quite a bold beast, this one too.
It is. I think we get the tasting notes for this one just spot on. Crispy smoked bacon, the sea salt as well. There's
quite a lot of
tons of salt, saltiness in the palate. It goes all the way through. All them coastal notes, the creaminess. I take it that was Ranald that put the smoked tofu in.
Well, it wasn't me.
Nothing wrong with smoked tofu.
Of course, yeah.
Each to their own.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't eat much of it.
No, that's a good dram, that one. It's a big peat lovers one too. But it's not just a case of it's smoke. That it is. There has got that lot of flavours behind it. It's got without going to too stereotypical taste notes for either, that kind of the maritime notes, the kind of lobster creoles, all that. Quite, as you said, very, very salty. It's a cracking dram, that one as well. But peated Bunnahabhain always seems to be a bit of a winner. You know, out of all the casks that we've got, and we've still got quite a good few of these, that they all seem really good. And even there was ones we were bought with. I mean, we got ones that like 4 years old that were really good.
Yeah, we did that younger one as well, didn't we?
Yeah, we did one for the
old.
club. I think about 6 years ago it would have been. I think because it's been a sister cask of these ones.
But yeah, it's a distillery very well known as well, and it's nice to find versions like this out and about available.
Well, I mean, even today, this afternoon, myself and Ranald were tasting like this unpeated Bunnahabhain, and it's one of those spirits that's, and it was like kind of maybe third fill hogsides that we're trying earlier. And you're looking at it and it looked a bit kind of pale, but they've got a really good spirit behind it. Now I know this is the peated version, but the Bunnahabhain's got a good spirit anyway. And sometimes I know a cask is going to help most of it, but having a good spirit to begin with is a big help. You know, if you've got bad spirit and a bad cask, then you've got no chance. But sometimes good spirit and maybe a not so great cask, it can still come out quite well too. I was just about, Nathan's taking the lead there. I was about to ask, what's your favourites from tonight? Any comments on them would be much appreciated too, as long as they're nice, of course.
It's always good to get feedback. But
what's your favourite?
Oh, I like the Glen Muray, the Inchgower, the Glen glassa.
Probably.
I mean, there's good bits in them all. Like, I mean, there's not a bad dram there for me.
I think I'm going down the. I'm going to go Glen glassa, Glen Muray, and the Bunnahabhain. I think. I think it's those three for me. They're all good. I say.
They'll all come in some sort of order. It's not that there's anything that I dislike about any of them, which is a good thing as well. It's not everything can't be to everyone's.
Well, that's exactly it. You know, and when we're doing the selections, you know, when people always say, "What's your favourite drams?" and stuff, like, you don't love every single thing that you pick. You know, you can get a quality, and you can understand that somebody would like, or there's a quality behind that whiskey that you know somebody would appreciate. You know, but you know, there's some cask types that I'm not as enamoured with. You know, wine casks I've got a love-hate relationship with. You know, sometimes it can be really good, sometimes it's like, you know, I know there's a lot of people who really love them, Dave. But it all depends as well again. And I think that's why we try and do kind of like, it's good to have like kind of other opinions as well. Like myself and Ranald are doing it. It's good to have those two opinions, and then, you know yourself, we do it quite a lot going, right, we've got a tiebreaker here, can we get your opinions as well?
Getting more and more people. It's still a fairly small team in the grand scale of things, and for two people making the main decisions and the amount that we bottle and put out every year, we're doing pretty good stuff. And I suppose we should also note, this has been launched tomorrow, but as is some of our rums, as we do a rum release
Oh yeah,
once
that's
a
on
year
tomorrow
as well.
Oh, yeah.
It's out in the UK tomorrow, so we've got 4 new rums, 2 date distillation single cask bottlings, one from Foursquare and one from Epirus. And then we've got 2 green labels, a Spanish 17 years old and a Panamanian 17 as well. So if you're interested in the rum side of things as well, Luke is kindly did a video for us from Cadenhead, London, and that'll go online tomorrow. But they are also offering a tasting tomorrow evening in the Cadenhead London shop.
And it was near. There might. This was earlier on this afternoon, but I think there was only maybe 1 or 2 spaces left. So it might have gone by now. But if you are interested and you're in the London area, I would give the guys a shout. Especially Luke and Sean love their rum down there as well.
They've got a lot of good knowledge about the rums. So
that'll be a great tasting as well.
have we got any feedback from?
We've got a kind of
favourites?
Different ranges. We've got Victoria. It's pulls apart, but the Linkwood and the Bunnahabhain were the favourites for them. Fraz says number 1 to the Glen glassa. Alan's got Inchgower best value. That's Paul Dempsey. Paul, how are you? So it's all kind of mixed.
Yeah, good.
So it's all good to
nice
see.
To hear
well, that's it. You don't want one ultimate favourite. You want to try and kind of make sure that there's a good range and a good mix for everyone. But anyway, I think that's it for tonight. Anyway,
we'll wrap this up and we'll see you in the next couple of weeks.
So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us and for the continued support with our tasting packs as well. And obviously, hopefully, we'll see quite a lot of you at the festival in a few weeks. I think we're going to go for some cold showers now, as it's absolutely roasting in here. But thank you all very much again, and hope to see you soon. Slange.